Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel Navon, for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Now we move on to Europe. Ukraine has discussed the possibility of changing the location and postponing the next round of trilateral talks with the United States and Russia. The talks initially scheduled between March 5th and 9th are now uncertain due to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy has confirmed that the situation in the Middle East has raised concerns, leading to reconsiderations of the meetings, timings, and location. Now we welcome retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar. He's a senior strategic and international affairs expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Dr. Kochar, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at Ukraine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now looking at Ukraine, before I go into the upcoming or the planned round of talks, I would like to ask, how do you think Ukrainian government is eyeing this situation in the Middle East? Do you think Ukraine is benefiting from this or not benefiting from this situation in the Middle East?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
Because the situation in the Middle East is not, or rather detrimental to Ukraine. And I'll give you my reasons for it.
Yes.
Firstly is that Ukraine is dependent on Western support and on the European support, and whatever battle it is fighting with the Russians is consequent to it getting ammunition, weapons, etc. from the US and the other countries. Now what is happening here is that the US is in the middle of a war. So whatever ammunition or military hardware which the US has is going to be utilized for the war in the Middle East. So it won't be forthcoming to Ukraine. Then the NATO countries also, as well as the Europeans like Germany, Great Britain, they have also pledged support to the Americans in their fight against the Iranians. So to that extent, Ukraine is going to be deprived. Second important aspect is that as long as this war is taking place, Ukraine's cause has been sidelined, or it has gone into a less priority zone now. So the focus of the entire world is towards West Asia, and the reason is because of the energy crisis which is likely to come about. And in this energy crisis, a shift will take place towards Russia, because Russia is the one country who can bail out many countries in case this Strait of Hormuz gets blocked or the Red Sea gets affected, because Europe will face a serious problem of energy in case the routes are blocked. So they will tend to gravitate towards Russian help also. It is a possibility. Some of the countries still enjoy a fairly okay relationship with Russia. So I think in the overall perspective, this crisis in the Middle East is not good for Ukraine.
Thank you for highlighting that. And Major General Dr. Kochar, so why is Ukraine, if it's not good for Ukraine, then why is Ukraine suggesting that we may change the location or the dates for these talks? Wasn't it so desperate or cornered to have any kind of talks with Russia and US?
You see, so far, whatever talks have taken place, they haven't benefited Ukraine, because the major issue is the ceasefire and cessation of hostilities from the Russian side. That has not happened in spite of the talk. You see, at the most, these talks have centered on prisoner exchanges and maybe localized ceasefire proposals or Black Sea grain export mechanisms. So the uh, crux of the problem is that Ukraine is not accepting the viewpoint of the Russians with regard to capture of territory, and they feel that uh, their sovereignty is affected, and they would not accept any loss of territory. So that has been the premise, and now, uh, in case there are talks, because right now Zelensky wants these talks to be delayed, or venues also to be changed on some pretext or the other. He is wanting to delay these talks, and the prime reason for delaying these talks is that when you have this kind of a crisis in the Middle East, the leverage as far as Ukraine is concerned is going to be lesser. Uh, the US will naturally gravitate towards Russia, and the bargaining power of Ukraine goes down. And so it is natural that Ukraine will not like to have talks in such a such an environment, because there is a feeling in Ukraine right now that it has been marginalized strategically, and
Yes.
more importance is now towards the West Asian side, and also who are the interlocutors here, who are the people who were trying to bring about talks. It was Turkey and countries of these like, and now Turkey is also got involved into this war as such. So I think Ukraine, in the fitness of things, would like these talks to be held at a later stage.
And thank you for highlighting that. Major General Doctor, building on your answer, I couldn't stop but thinking, does also this all, that you have laid out, the answer, and then plus that, do you think Ukraine doesn't trust US anymore? Because it's not just with Ukraine, but there was no breakthrough, like you said, for all these past talks, and also the fact that if we look at past 2 years of any US negotiations or mediation efforts, it has always ended up in the same scenario: someone attacking that country that the US was negotiating with. How do you analyze the trust level of Ukraine towards US now?
Okay, that's an interesting perspective you brought about, because I don't think Ukraine has any great options left now. Even if it is not trusting the US, which I think that, as you rightly said, there is a tilt of US towards Russia. A pro-Russia stance US has taken on a number of times, and Zelensky has been sidelined also by President Trump. I remember a meeting taking place in America some time back, where Zelensky was, where Trump was very, very curt to Zelensky, and it was not good optics to see that. And I tend to agree with you on the fact that Ukraine does not, or Zelensky does not trust Trump to the extent he should, because America has been fighting his war, or America has been fueling his war, is giving him all that what he wanted to fight the war, because the day the American support is going to stop, I don't think Zelensky would be able to fight this war. So I think whether Zelensky likes it or not, whether he trusts Donald Trump or not, he has very limited options. He cannot sustain this war without the help of the US. And Europe, you see, unfortunately, is also not in a very, very comfortable position to support Zelensky single-handedly. It gives a moral support to Zelensky, keeps on telling Zelensky, or egging Zelensky on to continue this war. But ultimately, and I have stated this in your program a number of times,
Yes.
that you see, ultimately, Zelensky must see the writing on the wall. He must
Yes.
come for a negotiated settlement, because each passing day leads to greater destruction in Ukraine and greater loss of lives of Ukrainians. So I think time has come, because 4 years is a very, very long period to fight a war, and the country has already been devastated. All the infrastructure has been destroyed. It will take years for Ukraine to build up what it has lost. So I think it's futile for Zelensky to continue this war any longer.
With that, I would like to thank retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar for joining us today and sharing that insight with us on NewsX World. Now we move on to our next news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has